Andy, how you doing? Good to see you.
Doing good, yeah. Glad you can make it in.
I'm glad to be here, man. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We were here last time with Ryan, and he did a hat for me. And what do you got for me today?
It's got your 200X chocolate American hat company hat here.
So this is my first 200X.
Yeah.
I have 40X. I'm wearing a 7X.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of 500Xs. How does this stack up to a 500?
I mean, it's still really, really good. Obviously, the 500X is going to be better because it's pure belly hair, and it's a finer fiber,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say, than what's in this 200X, which is it's a belly and back hair blend. So the back hair is like a bit thicker diameter hair than the belly hair, right? And so, I mean, it still has a wonderful finish, and it's still pure beaver. It's just a blend, instead of a pure one or the other.
It feels great.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it might be a little shorter hair, kind of like finished a little shorter than maybe the 500X steel I have. The silver belly, it's probably the shortest. It has no fuzz to it at all. It's almost like slick. Yeah. So, and I noticed that, even the 10X, or is it the 7X you have over here? Silver
10X,
belly.
yeah.
10X silver belly.
Mm-hmm.
It's really finished fine too. Is that something they do?
Light colors, it seems that they finish a little finer. It seems like.
Okay.
And that's across all the qualities. For some reason, I don't know why, but they seem to just finish a little better overall as a whole. But man, like even with a 200X versus 500X,
Right.
You're still going to be able to wear it in the rain, the elements, because it's going to hold up. Those fibers are tight.
Yeah, I think I've come to really like the all beaver, the 100% beaver hats, because even my 40X, it's just a different animal.
Yeah.
I like the 40X, but these are great hats.
Yeah.
They're all great hats.
You can be hard on them. I mean, you buy a hat to protect you from the elements. You don't buy a hat and then, oh man, it's raining, I got to get out. I don't want my hat to get wet. That's not what hats were made for. Especially back in the day. That's why people bought hats, is to protect them from the elements.
I agree, 100%.
So,
what are you wearing today?
I'm wearing 100X black.
Okay.
I don't normally wear black, so that's why I didn't. All my other hats are 500X, but I don't really normally wear black. Just kind of I wear this one to kind of give my other hats a break because they're lighter colors.
Right.
So they kind of show a lot more, oils from your hands and, just kind of some stains and stuff. Especially being in here, we're getting a lot of dark colored felt dust on us all day long. So
I know that. I shape hats, and I'll take. I've worn this, and had to sand a silver belly, and I come home and then this is covered in white. Or wear a silver belly and. You go home and it's got black specks all over it. So, but they brush them off and it's no problem.
Yeah.
So.
And the finer, obviously the finer the finish, the easier it is to dust them off because it doesn't get down in those, I would say pores, as like a 10X, 20X, 40X.
Sure.
They got a little bit more, but more holes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it can get down in that fuzz, I guess. That's sticking up. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it feels like a really good hat too. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing. My 40X, it's a little softer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but this one's really stiff.
Yeah.
This is a 7X and it's stiff. So and the I noticed over there the 40X, in a black is a little softer than say the 10X silver belly. So it's just kind of hit and miss. I don't know what it is with the colors and the dye that's in it.
So. So you go to, your local Western store or whatever, and whatever you got if you'll go and feel like those wool hats, they're really hard, right?
Right.
Hard. So as a good hat, hard doesn't mean that it's good.
Okay.
Right? Because you want it to give, but still maintain its shape.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I personally like something that's a little softer because if I run into something, trying to duck under it, and it hits it, it doesn't crease it because it's soft enough to give to it, And it's not hard enough to like almost break it.
That makes sense. And my silver belly is really stiff. And I've hit it with a brush before, and just the wood on the brush, and it's kind of left a little dent in it, you know?
Yeah.
So, that makes,
I think, you know, personally, I think hard hats don't make a good hat, you know?
Okay.
I think, you know, people are like, man, it's super stiff. I like that. Well, what if you get in a wreck on your horse, you know, and it just breaks, you know, it's too hard and it doesn't give.
Okay.
You know?
I see that for sure.
That's what I think. And, you know, I used to build hats for 5D custom hats in Abilene.
Is that right?
And so just building hats over the years, I could tell some that were too hard, you know, but you can't do nothing about it. It's how it comes from the I guess, the factory that built the body.
Right. What causes that? Is that the plating, or is that too long in the plating, or is it just
the fur blend or whatever? You know, sometimes it's
the dye. I know the black cherry. It's kind of one of the. It's got a little different feel than anything else.
Right.
Even this is, you know, a little more coarse than say a steel of the same quality.
Right.
You know, so it's just that it's got that deep dye in there, and it comes off in your hands a lot more than say black or something else would. So
dark. I mean, pretty much, you know, the black cherry, midnight blue, black. You know, you're gonna get a lot of people. A lot of people think it's dye. It's not really dye.
Okay.
You know, maybe a little bit, tiny bit, but the rest of it's the felt dust.
Okay.
Getting in your.
So it gets wet and comes out. Okay.
Yeah, it's just felt dust. If you wash your hands, it comes right off. So it's not dye. You know, I think it's, you know, building hats. You know, I work on black hats all day long. My hands will be totally black. Just soap and water, and it comes right off. You know, so it's felt dust, very fine felt dust.
And we've been to the factory. We've seen how they make it, and they sand them, you know, with a sander like DeWalt.
Yep.
You know, so and you get a new hat home, and you can take a lint brush to a brand new hat after it's been shaped and been brushed off. You can take a piece of tape, and you can see that dust come off in there for a couple weeks. You know, really. So
and really for the life of the hat.
Really, is that right? Okay, here it is. So we talked on Instagram. I don't know, a couple months ago, and I mentioned I needed to get a hat shaped by you because I've seen you on Instagram and TikTok, and you do some really crazy stuff with hats.
Yeah.
Have you always been artistic like that? Because it seems like you are, you really enjoy the artistic, you know, kind of portion of that.
I don't know.
You know?
You know, when I started doing this, you know, about 2009, when I started working for Damon there in Abilene, it was just, I was shaping cowboy hats, you know. I didn't know there was any other, you know, anything else, you know, whether it be cattleman, you know, JB, kind of your team roper look or bull rider look, however, you know, out there it can kind of get little western, you know, they high and tight, you know, like it, but anyway, that's just the West Texas look, right? That's what I was used to shaping. And then over the years of doing more and more and more and more and more, and then going with Best Hat to Vegas in 2014, which was mind-blowing to me. I've never shaped that many hats in one day, let alone a week, you know, or 2 weeks. That 2014, I don't know. It was a whirlwind, you know, and so getting to do more and more hats like that, and then the whole fashion hat thing kind of came out or took off, I guess. And so we're taking the same open crown, flat brim that we would shape your Western type hats and able to do fashion hats out of them, you know? And so that's where I guess I got wanting to be artistic and creative and kind of making something that not everybody has, right? So you can have the same shape, but different ribbon, different burns, different, you know, stitching, different, you know, just little things that are a little bit different for each person that gets a fashion hat.
Now, do you see a mix of men and women at the NFR?
Yeah.
When they come and get their hat shaped?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like even hear, you know, people that don't know, they're like, okay, so like, where's the women's hats? Right? Well, ma'am, they're all women's. So like, your shape is a woman's hat. I was like, if you put it on a woman's head, it's a woman's hat. I mean, it's how they want it shaped, you know. If they're barrel racer or team roper or breakaway roper, I mean, they wear Western hats, but it's all gender neutral, you know. And so, yeah, we get a lot of both out there. And so we don't do a lot of fashion hats because there's just not, I mean, we'll shape them and most of the time we'll leave the self band on there, but we do take pre-made ribbons and that's your choice. Whereas here, you know, we have a lot more options. We got time to do it, you know, but out there we're just kind of blow and go, and we got some pre-mades. We'll just throw them on there and
Sure.
And let them go with that for now.
And that's funny. Last time I was here, Ryan said, you know, if you put it on a girl's head, it's a cowgirl hat. If you put it on a guy's head, it's a cowboy hat. And so I've used that too. That line is kind of stuck with me. It's great and a great explanation of that too. So.
And even if it's that same shape right there can be male or female. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just
right.
If it's on a girl, that's a girl's hat. If it's on a guy, it's a guy's hat. I mean, it's just.
What kind of brim shape would you call that?
I'd call that almost kind of a J. It's a little wider than, I guess, a traditional J.
That's kind of what I say.
But it's not as wide, I guess, for me, how I shape, it's not as wide as a JB.
Right.
And so
somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
All right.
And then you're just your, you know, traditional cattleman crown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I kind of debated on this hat because I got a Minnick. American sent me a 5100 in a Minnick. It's my first Minnick, and I really love it. But I'm just not committed enough to go with on the felt. Yeah, maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Maybe. Yeah, it's a taller crown. It's, I mean, I guess it's pretty similar to a cattleman, I guess, in a way, but it's taller. You know,
a little wider.
And you know, a lot of people they just can't get away from that. You know, they don't like that tall crown.
Right.
You know,
well, this is the same thing with the brim because, you know, we talked earlier off camera and, you know, I'm used to 4 1/4 is what I'm wearing right now. My 500s are 4 1/4. But this is a 4 1/2. And this brim shape kind of got me to love the 4 1/2. Yeah. It just worked on me, you know, with this shape. You know, before I would have a 4 1/2 and so cut it down. It doesn't look right.
Right.
So we're going to try it on this one. This is a 4 1/2.
For sure. And so you're speaking of brim sizes, you know, when I started working at Damon's there, I mean, I wanted to be punchy like the rest of my buddies or whatever. And I had a big old 5-inch brim, right?
Okay.
Big. Thought it was cool. And I don't know, it just kind of, it didn't work. It just didn't work for me, you know? So I went down to 4 1/4. I skipped 4 1/2. Went down to 4 1/4. Well, then, I'm like, well, that's just too small and dumb. Because I'm a big guy, big shouldered guy.
Sure.
And I was like, this just looks tiny. So I went back to 5. Again, I wore that for a little while, and I don't like it, you know. So then I put on a 4 1/2, or made a 4 1/2, and I don't know, you know. And finally got this shape that I wear.
Is that a JB?
Yeah, on the brim, and maybe a little flatter than a traditional JB, but got my shape nailed down, and it worked perfectly on a 4 1/2, and that's how I shape every hat from now on, and. So all my hats are shaped the same. If you stack them, they look exactly the same. So
it took me a while to get my preferred brim shape, and my silver belly is a little different, but I like it. I like on the silver belly, it's got the the howdy ma'am.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it kind of works on that hat, and I don't mind it at all. But this is just my favorite.
Yeah. Well, I'll get this one shaped up. It's identical to that one. It's
cool.
Possible.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we already got your center line on here. Yep. The way it's shaped straight to you. Nobody else can wear it. And they can wear it, but it might be crooked, you know?
Sure.
So
I think my nose is a little bent. I don't know.
Everybody's is.
Yeah.
Ears at different heights and all that.
So you mentioned you started building hats.
Yeah.
Was that your first time ever into the hat world? Was just starting to build hats? Or?
You know, growing up, don't need to get into it, but growing up at the place that I grew up at, you know, I'd been into showing animals and stuff. I mean, I wore road horses, and you know, I wore hats. You know, and most of them were just pre-shaped. Don't know no better. Pre-shaped hats from Cavender's or whatever, and I just kind of did the whole tinfoil pot thing. You know, growing up, not getting good at it, just changing some things or straightening some stuff that I didn't like or whatever. And when I first started working for Damon, I wasn't doing hats. that's not what I got hired to do. I got hired to, I was doing leather work with another guy. And so he had another hat guy that was building hats, and there's 3 of us there. Most of us were friends, and there was one old guy that did all the floral tooling for him. Whereas like me, I did kind of the phone holsters and knife sheaths and stuff and got them sewn together and like baskets stamped out, just easy stuff, you know. And then the other guy built hats. And anyway, long story short, that guy decided he was done and left. And so Damon had to start building his own hats again. Well, that lasted about a month. And he just approached me and was like, hey, you want to learn to make hats? I was like, yeah. I don't see why not. Paycheck don't change, you know. Good. And so he taught me, and I think he taught me the best possible way you could teach somebody about hats. So you had mentioned earlier the people up there at the factory using palm sanders, right?
Right.
And so I didn't learn to sand a hat that way. I had a block with sandpaper, you know. So I hand sanded every hat for probably about 3-4 months. That way I could get the feel of what it was supposed to feel like, you know, when it was done.
Sure.
On the crown and the brim. Because with a palm sander, you can get through that crown like that. So now,
put a hole in it.
Quick.
Really?
Quick. And so, like, a custom hat guy does not block the crown, say as like American does. You know, they have a different type of machine that blocks these crowns. You know, whereas a custom hat guy, they have blocks. They'll stretch the hat over the block, tie it off, and then it goes to basically an iron that spins and irons the crown onto the block.
Is that the pouncer or is that the?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And so that's how we have to do it. Each hat. That's why they don't do a whole lot of quantity over the years. And so that's how I learned. You know, so I got to feel what a good hat felt like, you know, or when it was finished, or what it, you know. And I just think he taught me the right way, you know, instead of throwing in somebody straight to a palm sander and
right
burning right through it, you know.
He probably wanted to save his product.
But I hand sanded the brims as well.
So how long were you with that company?
So I did that for 9, 10. From 2009 to, well, I guess the hats started late 2009. So late 2009 to 2011. Right, yeah. The end of the year, like November, December of 2011. Then I moved to Amarillo.
Did you
got a big kid job in 2012?
You got a big what?
Big kid job in 2012. Yeah, I started doing crop insurance adjusting.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was, you know, the hat deal. I guess I kind of got to a point like it was fine. You know, I loved it, but I guess I was like, is this gonna take me into the future? You know what I mean? Like, is this gonna be? Do I want to live like this, or do I want to get better, more successful? Right? Nothing wrong with doing that, you know. But I guess I strived for more, you know.
Sure.
And so went and did that, you know, for a while, just kind of. But I never got out of it. Like my friends still, you know, hey, are you around? Like, can you come shape one up for me? Yeah, I'll meet you at Cavender's, you know. And they let me do it. And then at first it was kind of difficult. They're like, I don't know, you know. And then they found out that you know, later on, starting, I guess 2014, found out I was working for basically, I guess, American, how they saw it, but it was Best Hat Store. And they're like, oh, yeah, go back there, do whatever you need to, you know. And so.
Did you start working at Best in 2014 then?
No, well, just for the NFR.
Oh, okay.
Just for the NFR. So, you know, Danny here and Ryan, they were here about the same time, 14-ish, 2014. And so 2014 was like a renewed year. So they got 4 new hat shapers. None of us had ever met each other out there in Vegas. And Danny picked me up in Abilene, picked another guy up in New Mexico on the way out to Vegas. And all that whole time, it was the first time we'd ever met each other. And they kind of revamped the whole deal. And we've all, us 3 have been doing it since 2014 up to currently. So the last 9 years, it's been good. And we've got to know each other. But I came here to the store in 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Finally, I was in Idaho helping the 4th guy that was out there in Vegas with us in 2014. He's from Idaho. He's got a little traveling hat store and now a storefront there in Idaho. And that's what I went out there for, to help him kind of get a storefront going. Went out there and did that. It was an awesome experience. I really like Idaho. And but then I moved back to Texas, and they called me to come work here. Like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, but I gotta, I'd come back to Texas, kind of see everybody, helping with some harvest up in the Texas Panhandle. And it's like, well, come work here. I was like, yeah, I'd love to, But I gotta. When do you need me? Well, as soon as possible. I was like, well, I got to go back to Idaho and get all my stuff. I just came down to do some work here during wheat harvest. Okay, well, when do you think it's a good time for you? And I was like, well, I got to finish the job first, and then I'll, fly back to Idaho and move back.
We were talking, and I wasn't really paying attention. When you do a brim, do you start at the back and do you get your bowl in the back first, or how do you?
No, I kind of do it last.
Okay.
So I'll work on it last.
All right.
And that's and you've probably seen it. It's really cool to see that, like you mentioned Joby's earlier, or you got yours. He shapes one way, right? Ryan that did your other hat, he shapes one way. I shape one way, but you get the same result at the end.
Absolutely.
We all have our own ways to do things.
And that's the really cool thing about doing this and going and seeing different people is seeing all of the different little tricks.
Yeah.
And what I can take back and make my own, because I'm not going to shape exactly like anybody. No. Yeah. I did. Joby was kind enough to give me a 2-day, kind of a class at the store. American right now, they're focusing on hats, and they don't have time to do the school. And I needed some help. So he did that for me, and that was great. So
yeah, but everybody has their own way of doing things and to figure out what works for them. But it all comes out to the same result.
Is there anything that you struggle with still? Like maybe one side is stronger than the other, or you have one eye that kind of sees differently, and you have to go back and double check certain things. For me, I always have trouble with the center crease. I'll mark the front and I'll mark the back even sometimes, and I'll get it down there and I'll look and it's crooked. Yeah. I got to go back and fix it. I'm always off. To maybe if you're looking at it, I'm off in the back to the left.
Right.
So.
So that's an easy fix, really. I mean, Brian does it. He starts here and comes out, right? Whereas like me and Danny, right? We have our center line. We're looking at it. We'll kind of start in the middle, and work our way down where we want the height of the crown, right? And it stays center there, right? Mm-hmm. We're center here, okay? And then you just put it back down, and you'll just go straight back from that line,
Okay.
And that helps keep it straight. But everybody's different. Like I said, Ryan, he does that, that way at the same time, like you're talking about how you do it. I used to do it that way, but same thing. I'd be off one way or the other, and then wouldn't notice it. It'd look straight to me this way, right? And then I'd steam it, put it back down, and do the side dents. And then when I come here to look at it, then I'm like, oh, that's a little crooked, And so I just watch people.
Well,
and I'll try that. I'll try it, see if it works for me, and that particular thing worked for me.
I'll absolutely try that next because that's the thing I struggle with. That and the back. One side will be maybe higher than the other side in the back.
Right.
And so I have to figure out what angle is this for me that I have to change.
Yeah.
And so I'm still working on that, still learning that. And it's only on the felts for me because I've done straws for about 9-10 months now. And a lot of them. So just now getting into felt season, I'm starting to do more felts.
Yeah. And so so Ryan and Danny do this that I don't do, and neither does anybody else. So, side dent, I do it this way, right? Get my side dents that way. Well, both of them guys, they do it this way.
Okay.
And I've tried it a few times, just messing around, and I can't do it the way they do it. I can't come this way.
Okay.
I have to come this way with my thumbs.
And I do it similar to you, but I come down when I do mine, so maybe that's something I need to change. I need you're doing straight in when you
right. Yeah. So I'll put my fingers in here, and I'll leave that pretty wide up at the top, and come in. It's almost an in down, right? Because it allows this part just kind of roll.
Okay.
Kind of keeping that pretty thick, Whereas some people just pinch,
Yeah. And that's my go-to. If I mess it up, I'll start pinching it.
Yeah.
You get it skinnier, and you can hide some stuff.
Yeah. Now, do you like sharper edges, like sharper corners, cut like this one, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean on the crease?
Right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is, I take this hat and I say, like this. And, it kind of translates differently on a 4 1/4. It kind of just gets a little laid out a little further, but like this one, I think it's a little different. But it gets me close. What I really like is the kind of the concave, where it goes kind of like a concave edge.
Oh, yeah. But you're asking me, is there something, I guess, that I struggle with? And for me, most of the time, I think it'd be the left corner, right? Yeah, on the person left hand is usually a little higher, right? Right here. Just right here.
Okay.
Right, it's usually kind of up, just a little, comes up just a little bit, right? And I don't know why, I don't know if it's just this hand doesn't get enough, dip on this side, but it's always, and this stronger side, right-handed anyway, gets more. So it's always kind of this slope this way.
That makes sense.
But, I always get it fixed, but.
Yeah, I always get it fixed too, but I always know that there's something I struggle with, and I have to, watch it.
Right. And I also like when people bring their hats, because then I can, double check, width, So it's just, this chocolate's just a tick narrower than the straw,
It'll work, yeah.
So, but then I can also see what else needs to happen. So your straw's more open. I have this one more up.
Up, yeah.
Closer to what that is.
Right, yeah.
Versus this one.
Yeah, that's a good looking hat.
So then from there, I'll work these down from the back. And like you said, you have trouble with the back, right? So I'll just basically steam here back, right?
All right.
And then I'll hit the front just a little bit to just kind of soften it up. And these are helpful, but you don't have to use these. You can do it here. But definitely helpful if you could get one in your steamer cabinet. So just kind of flatten it out, but don't make it flat.
What's your favorite part of doing what you do? Excuse me.
You know, I've been asked that before, and I really think it's giving people what they envisioned, and make, because they'll get that smile on their face when they look in the mirror, like, yeah, that's it right there. That's what I was looking for. And the harder ones to shape for are your everyday ranching cowboys, right? Because they're so particular, but they're also the hardest on their hats too, Like we're spending all this time getting it perfect, and you're about to go wreck it,
Right.
But I get it, I get it.
What do they come in here and buy usually? A working cowboy.
As far as like quality, or most of them get like 100X,
100X.
Because they understand, that the harder you are on it, the better quality you need. They get that, Straws, it varies. I mean, it's kind of everything. They know they're going to sweat through it, and it'll be ruined in just a little while. But
they might get a month or two out of it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of them will buy 2 straws.
Yeah, we talked to Cody Bates, and I think he said he went through 2 straws a season.
Yeah.
And he said he went through a felt every 2 years. He said he's really hard on his ads.
Yeah. I don't really go through felts too fast. I do like my natural. I love natural. Natural is my all-time favorite color. Right? I wear it all the time.
It's a good-looking color.
And so I could show you mine later, but I mean, 1 year, right? And it needs a new sweatband. I wear it a lot. Yeah.
Is that something that a sweatband? It needs a new sweatband.
Mm-hmm.
Does it sweat through to the hat band?
A little bit,
really?
Sometimes, and it's not really like what you would, I guess, see sweat.
Okay.
It just kind of gets a little bit like almost an oily look.
And you wear a 500.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's 500 there. I was like, yeah, that feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really soft. It's a good looking hat.
And without, working here has made me, I probably would have eventually got there if I'd have never kind of, come to work for Best Hat or American Hat, even at NFR. I think I'd eventually got there to a 500, maybe even a 200. Because I didn't know any better. And, they are a little pricey, right?
They are.
Right? For, your average person. I mean, for a cowboy hat, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
well, look at it, a pair of boots,
Mm-hmm.
A pair of boots can be, Lucasi's, $1,500, $1,600.
But man, there's like the stuff you could put them through. Like, I don't think I could have another quality. I mean, that 500 is just
I asked Cody about this. The 1000X. I'm always curious about the 1000X because it's a mink and beaver belly hair blend. Mm-hmm. I asked, is it as hard working as a 500? And how do you think? Do you have any? Do you own any 1000X?
I don't have any.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think they're just as hardy because of the belly hair, right? Like, I would say 100% because of the belly hair, right? I don't think the mink structurally does a lot for the hat. Makes it feel fantastic and has a fantastic finish. It's beautiful. I mean, I might get one for dress hat because they do. They look fantastic, but I mean, they're still good. I mean, they're really, really good, super good. But personally, like my opinion, I mean, 500X is like
that's all I need. Yeah,
that's
I
all
love
I need.
500.
But one of our ambassadors, our pro athletes, dad, Haven Medget's dad, they have a feedlot or auction or something up there in Montana. He wears 1000X, and I'm talking just puts them through the ringer all winter long, summer long, and they are filthy. And so I mean, yeah, I mean they hold up just as good, you know. But you know, to me, to do what I'm going to do in it, I don't need that one, you know.
I haven't seen a need for me to go to 1000X yet, and I really like the feel of the 100% beaver, and I really like the feel of the 200X.
Yeah.
So.
And I had one, you know, I had a 200X natural for a really long time, and finally broke off and went to the 500. You know, and a lot of the reason for me for the 500 was color, right? For natural anyway. So with natural, as you go up in quality, even from 40, 100, 200, 500, 1000, the color changes because it is natural fur. There's no dye in a natural fur. Yeah.
That's 1000 here?
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to ask you earlier.
There's no dye.
No dye?
No, it's what the hair is.
This is the natural color of the...
And so that's what's cool about natural is you could order 5 of them. 3 of them may look, 99% the same as far as color. You don't have 2 of them that are darker or lighter because it's just how it was blown, you know.
Man.
How the body was built.
That's slick.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of got like a real felt, like something you would, like a velour.
Right.
To it, but it's such a short fiber.
Because it's they are such a fine fiber, both the mink and the belly hair, that when they go to sanding them off, you know, and finishing the hat, it's able to cut them off as like close as it can, you know.
I see that this has got a lot of dust on it.
Yeah.
How does the natural do in like a dusty environment?
Very, very well. It hides so much dirt. You probably didn't even know it was dirty until you started rubbing on it.
It's
you know what I mean?
It kind of peeled up. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another key thing why I like natural is because of that very reason. It hides a lot of dirt, and if I forget to brush it off and I'm going to an event and I got a sports coat on, like it looks clean. And that probably most of the time in that lighting, right, wherever some sort of sport coat event.
Sure.
You know, so it's just always been my favorite color. I don't know why.
Well, I've been debating on the Tuscan, but it only comes in 40X, so I really like the color. And I had a pecan, but I'm not really a huge fan of the pecan, so maybe I'll try a natural next.
And so that 200 and up, right, you'll get more brown. Whereas, you know, the 40X, 100X, they're going to be a little more gray, right?
Right.
And that's, you know, obviously for the other fur blend is where you're going to get the gray.
The rabbit,
or
the hair.
The Argentine hair, you know. That's where you're going to get more of that gray. And then you start getting more beaver. Obviously, beaver's brown, right? So you're going to start getting more of that brown hint.
That makes a lot of sense.
Alrighty. I think we're done here.
It's a good looking hat. I've been kind of stressing over this color, whether it be too dark or not. You know, it's hard to find pictures of a lot of these things. Best Hat has, when you have them in stock, you can see the pictures of the chalk. But sometimes if you don't have it in stock, I don't know if
show a picture.
Yeah, it won't show a picture.
Huh.
So.
Okay. We'll put this on as a mirror right there on the other side of your camera there, and just see what you think. We can change some stuff and just make sure it's good first. I get first look.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny because I always ask the people to look at me so I can check it, and the first thing they do is look over to a mirror. Like, no, look at me. I want to make sure you're good. We're good. All right. Let me take a look here. That even fits pretty good. Normally they're really loose. That fits really good.
Is it a little loose on the sides at all?
Let's see where it's loose. It is loose. I can't tell where it's at because it sits really low. It might be on the sides, yeah. we need to.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe just a tick front and back. Put one piece in the back, I think.
All right. I noticed. Yeah, it takes me a while because I rotate through hats so often. I wear them every day, but I rotate through them.
Yeah.
It takes me a while to get them broken in. My silver belly now, I'm able to take the tape out and it fits perfectly. But they will shrink.
They will shrink a little bit.
I'm kind of right in between 7 1/8 and 7 1/4.
And that's my suggestion, to always go bigger.
Yeah, we talked about that on our podcast last week. We talked about coming out here and we did a straw hat giveaway from American. So it was really good.
So do you do this tape trick too when you are doing some hats, or?
Sometimes I work at Cavender's about 3 days a week, and I'll take a roll of tape and it'll disappear. So I'm gonna have to make a bag of stuff that I can take with me. So if I have it, I will use the tape. If not, I use what they have, which is the foam.
The foam.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan showed me that trick, and I immediately went to that. Because it actually takes up a lot of room. It doesn't take up a lot of room in the hat, but it takes up a lot of space.
Right.
It shrinks it a lot.
Shrinks it a lot.
Yeah, that's.
And I just think, it's hard. I just think it's the best thing to use.
Yes.
I mean, really and honestly, like, people are like, I'll just put some paper towels in there. I'm like, yeah, you ever wonder what that bulge is right there on your hat? Well, that's just from it stretching out and you wearing it and cramming it down. I'm like, no. It's from that paper towels or that foam, or whatever. I mean, that pressure's got to go somewhere.
Sure.
And so whereas that stuff's hard, that it's able to push that felt over time, this stuff is, it doesn't have the strength to push the felt. It can only create a wedge here in the sweatband. I bet that fits really good now.
And it's funny you mentioned that because on the American Hat Company, that's perfect, man.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, in the American Hat Company enthusiast group, we had a guy, he posted a hat and he said something about, it's his size, but it's so small. I'm like, open it up. And he opened it up and there was tape in there. So he pulled it out and it fit.
It fits, yeah.
But, so that looks good.
Any changes?
It looks good. I like it. It looks pretty straight to me. It's solid, man. Yeah. I want to thank American Hat Company for the hat. They did a fantastic job making it. And Andy, thank you so much. My first hat from Andy.
Yeah.
If you haven't followed him on Instagram, it's
_Andy
08.
That's right.
On Instagram, and you're on TikTok too.
Yep. And it's on there. I think it's just Instagram Andy.
I'll put links in this video down below.
Yeah.
So check him out.
Cool.
And come into the best hat store, get a hat, talk to Andy.
You bet.
All right.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.